All right.
For sure we could.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Kirk, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in again. How have things been in the last few weeks?
Pretty much the same. Holidays are always stressful, family coming in town, family dynamics,
Yeah.
politics, expectations, and, some of the kids are vegetarians and you gotta cater to that, and there's a lot going on.
I laugh because I'm a vegetarian
Oh.
and I'm the one who most people have to cater to.
Oh.
So sorry for our side of the.
It's a turkey Thanksgiving. How can you not have turkey? But whatever.
Yeah, a tofu turkey is definitely just not the same. So, based on our last visit, the things that we talked about, and the goals that you had stated, I'm wondering if we're still basically on the same track of like the anxiety and the stress and the anxiety regarding sleep. Would that be fair to say that that's still where we're at?
Absolutely. I was up at 3:30 this morning and, fretting about work and the holidays and did I do everything right? And
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
No.
It doesn't sound fun at all. As a reminder, just before we get too further into it, I will be taking notes.
Okay.
That helps me remember things that we're talking about currently and then for future planning on the path that we're going to be taking. So
Okay.
regarding the sleep, have you had any new positive or negative insight to your sleep?
No, I mean, it's been the same pattern for as long as I can remember, I fall asleep easily, almost instantly.
Uh-huh.
But I almost always, I would say 90% of the nights, I wake up somewhere between 2 and 3:30 and my mind just takes off running and it's just out of control and it so much goes into my mind that I just toss and turn and fret.
Yeah.
And the more I toss and turn and fret, the more likely it is I'm not gonna go to sleep.
Right.
I mean, it's not to say that I don't sometimes fall asleep, but it's usually after an hour or so.
You mean fall back asleep
Yeah.
at 2 or
Yeah,
3
yeah.
o'clock?
Just in time for the alarm to go off.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
which is awesome.
It's sarcastically.
Yes.
Sarcastically. So I want to touch base that the things that I felt like that I put together for today's session is obviously discussing this, general anxiety. I want to go through some more sessions before any proper diagnosis of anything and just see, how much general anxiety you have. But I thought that with the overall umbrella term of anxiety, for me to pick one thing to start with, talking about the sleep would be the best way to dive into it and start approaching some of the thoughts and the behaviors around the sleep, and then maybe that will lead into more paths, more avenues of other anxiety that we can work on.
Okay.
So the goal, I think, is to start working on some reconstruction of thought patterns regarding your sleep. Things that we talked about last time, it seemed like there was a lot of concrete thoughts regarding sleep, and I wanted to see if that's something that we can approach with your thoughts and see if maybe changing those will help your sleep pattern. And then if that works, then we'll dive into other aspects of anxiety.
Okay.
So if I remember correctly from the last session that we spoke, the goal was more sleep with less anxiety in the beginning, and more sleep was around 7 to 8 hours. Is that correct?
Yeah, everything I've read says that, the average adult needs 7 or 8 hours of sleep, and I do not get that.
Yeah. Where do you feel like you're getting your research from?
It's just stuff I read. I don't know that I've actually researched sleep, but there will be an article, like I read USA Today sometimes, and sometimes there would be a little piece in there about sleep, and that I see that number a lot, 7 to 8 hours of sleep.
Okay, all right. So moving forward with the goals, I want to talk about the overall goal for the next 10 to 12 weeks that we'll be visiting together. And then what the goal of like this individual session, I'd like to just go over a goal each time,
Okay.
what we're working towards. So overall, so that you know what it would look like, we will have discussions. I'll be asking you questions of sleep patterns, sleep behaviors, what that looks like, some of your emotions. I'd like you to share experiences. I will challenge those things. And what that means is challenging some of the thoughts that you currently have with new thoughts.
Okay.
And we'll give you some examples in just a little bit. We'll have more discussions. Most likely in each session, there will be some homework that I'll send home with you. And that will look like just some material to read,
All right.
which is just about information of planting the seed, giving you some new ideas. Therefore, in the future sessions, when it resonates and when it comes up, you'll have an idea of what we're talking about. In addition to some like paperwork, which will look like tracking, maybe some journaling, or some activities.
Okay.
And then you'll come back the next session and we'll just kind of go over everything that you've experienced and progress from there. And then I'll give you an idea of what the goal of that session will be as well.
Okay.
So as far as today, we're gonna discuss a few things about your sleep pattern. I'm gonna point out some cognitive thoughts that, you know, that I see might be hindering you. And we'll engage in a way of maybe looking at them differently, seeing how they fit, and then maybe challenging you to take them home and try them out and see how you can manipulate them and work them out for yourself.
Okay.
And then of course, see how they work. Before we go too much further, I want to clarify a few things that I think are going to be beneficial for the future sessions that we go through. It will be important for you in the next couple of weeks, the sooner the better, to have a physical evaluation from your physician. And what I want to do with that is eliminate or give like concrete evidence that if there is some actual physiological insomnia, if that's something that's diagnosable through a physician.
Okay.
Because you had stated that you hadn't done that before, and so I think that basis of information is going to help us so that we know where to go for the rest of our sessions.
All right.
And then as far as the homework, how do you feel about that? Is that something that you'd be willing to do, take home?
How much time are we talking? What's the time commitment?
Well, I think probably less than 5 minutes a day.
Oh, I can do that.
Yeah, so it'll mostly be about just tracking some sleep behaviors and patterns. You're welcome to add more time to it. You know, I will challenge you to journal, but that's just your choice.
Okay.
The more effort you put into it, I think what that will do is it'll just give us more information to work with.
Okay.
But it's still obviously your choice. So, any questions so far?
No.
Okay.
No.
So I want to give you the packet of information first, just so that for any reason I don't forget to give it to you at the end of the day, and then we'll go over what the homework actually looks like.
Okay.
And so what this is a lot of information that I have put together about empirical and scientific research about sleep and what the body actually requires and what it doesn't need.
Okay.
And that might be a little frustrating at times when we're reading, because you'll say, oh, I have lived my life thinking these thoughts. But what this is about is letting you know that science is saying, here's what you actually need, and here's what you actually don't need.
Okay.
And then again, as you go through for the rest of the sessions, we can talk about those things, okay? So as far as distorted cognitive thoughts, what that is about, I want to read some things to you, and I apologize because normally we would just talk about this, but as you'll learn within the session, negative sleep thoughts are usually distorted and inaccurate, and they only make your insomnia worse. Again, the insomnia term, we're just using that as the umbrella term, where it's falling asleep, staying asleep, falling back asleep, or having any type of sleep distress or stress regarding it. And then as we talk, we'll be able to pinpoint where yours falls. It sounds like yours is waking up at 2:30 and falling back asleep.
Right.
Okay. And if I remember correctly, you'd said that frequently you'll have some vodka gin, vodka coke, something.
Vodka sodas, yeah.
Vodka sodas a couple times a night, a couple times a week. and then sometimes sleeping aid or like a sleeping pill.
Right.
And that's something that you rely on.
Yes.
Okay,
Not prescription, just over-the-counter stuff.
just over the counter, because
Yeah.
again, you have not seen a physician.
Well, I get a physical every year, but I haven't really talked to her about my insomnia.
Right, okay, and is that something that you would be
Yeah,
willing to do?
you're asking me to do that,
Okay.
so I will.
All right, so with these built-in ideas of sleep that we basically started when we were little, you know, with our parents saying, hey, you need to go to bed at a certain time, or don't stay up too late. Those are some examples of how we start building our thought ideas of sleep. A major problem with insomnia is that by worrying it, it'll affect you the next day. Negative stressful thoughts about sleep worsen insomnia by triggering emotions such as anxiety or frustration, and that mobilizes the stress response. So with that information, anxiety isn't always something that is tangible. You know, sometimes we do get a fast heart rate, sometimes we get sweaty palms and we get fidgety, but generally it's just this internal feeling of anxiousness and worry. Worry about what we should have done and worrying about what we should be doing regarding sleep. So the goal of reorganizing the thoughts is simple and powerful. By recognizing and replacing your negative sleep thoughts with more accurate and scientific or empirical information about your thoughts, you'll reduce the worry and the negative emotions that trigger the stress response. So, and then by practicing, you will work at it, and you'll get better.
Okay.
So that's the goal, is to start talking about the thoughts and how we can restructure those, so that the goal is to feel less anxiety about sleep or about the lack of sleep.
Right.
Okay. Thought reconstruction is not the same as pretending you don't have insomnia, or simply using the power of like positive thinking or like affirmations. So it means that thinking about insomnia less negatively. So that will be the goal through this. So in a minute, I'm gonna have you sit back and I want you to give me some examples of the last couple of nights, how you walked through. I want you to walk me through the steps that you took to actually fall asleep, your sleep, and then some of the emotions that you were going through. So, and then after doing that, I'll go over just a list of a couple things of some cognitive distortions, and then what we'll do with that, and then what homework to take for the rest of the week.
Okay.
So,
so yeah, I guess if I just go back the last two nights, let's see, Saturday night, got home kind of late from the Ute game. So I'd been drinking all day. And then Jody was in a bad mood, I guess something happened at work. She does real estate. And she was upset or stressed about what happened. I don't remember. We didn't really talk about it. I think we just watched a college football game, and I had a couple glasses of wine and took a couple Advil and went to bed.
okay. Tell me more about what you were feeling about this impending night of going to sleep.
Yeah, I was kind of already upset because of Jody's mood. I kind of let her mood affect me. And so, I was already kind of pissed off and frustrated, and then knowing that I was going to be awake and probably thinking about that, just made it all the more frustrating.
And knowing already that you were gonna have a rough night's sleep, no sleep, lack of sleep, tell me more about that.
Well, I know I'm going to wake up. I just do.
Okay.
It's not a question of if I'm going to wake up or not. It's just a question of whether or not I'm going to be able to go back to sleep. And knowing that, I was already upset about Jody's mood. I knew I'd be fretting about that in the middle of the night too.
What do you do when you wake up at this 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning? What do you do?
It's frustrating. I'm annoyed. it's like, I don't understand why I just can't sleep like everyone else does. And, you know, my mind starts working, you know, it starts thinking about, you know, now I'm gonna have a foggy brain today and or the next day, and I guess it is that day. And, you know, I start thinking about stuff that's going wrong at work and stuff that's going wrong at home and stuff that went wrong at Thanksgiving and stuff that will now go wrong at Christmas.
future stresses. How often would you fall back asleep on a week?
I would say it's probably half the time that I
Okay.
fall back to sleep, but it's usually, I try not to look at the clock because that just makes it worse, because then I get pissed off that I've been up for as long as I have. But when I do fall back to sleep, it doesn't feel like I'm asleep very long when the alarm goes off at 5:30.
What would a healthy, restful night look like and feel like for you?
Well, you go to sleep and stay asleep, right?
Yeah. Okay. For you, how long?
Well, I indicated earlier that I've always been told 7 or 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's just kind of what I think, and so I'd be happy with 7.
You'd be happy with 7? Okay. And then, so if that's Saturday, what would Sunday look like? Is that any different?
Sunday I was working on a big work project, so I was on the computer most of the day. Made dinner, trying to think what went on, and I think we just watched Sunday Night Football, had a couple of vodka sodas, took an Equate to hopefully try and keep me asleep.
And that's a sleep aid.
Yeah, that's the Walmart generic brand.
Okay.
So it's just, I think it's just Benadryl.
Okay.
But yeah, same thing. I woke up this morning. I don't think I looked at the clock, but I felt like it was pretty early in the morning again. And you know, I was thinking about the project that I was working on and the fact that I had to present it today, and you know, am I ready? Did I do everything right? And you know, there's a lot riding on the presentation, so I was pretty stressed about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I didn't fall back to sleep.
Okay. So thank you for sharing the examples. Yeah, I hear it through everything that you're saying, that there's a lot of things that are definitely triggering your stress. I want to talk about the cognitive thoughts and what that looks like based on what you're talking about.
Okay.
So I want to throw out some examples really fast, so that you can see where the direction that we're going to go. So general consensus of sleep. Again, the subject and the topic that we're going to stay focused on is sleep. So the general consensus in the research that I put together, there's 2 ways to think about sleep when we're, you know, as far as anxiety and the ideas of what people put together to have good sleep. Okay, so there's some positive things. I'm just going to read them through, just kind of let you know that many people think these things.
Okay.
So positively, these are the ideas of what people do to better their sleep. In order to go to sleep, they avoid caffeine, nicotine, or alcohol. They avoid eating large amounts of food. To get better sleep, engage in regular exercise, maintain a calm and tidy bedroom, keep the bedroom a comfortable temperature, keep the bedroom dark and quiet throughout the night, keep the bedroom just for intimacy and sleep, and go to bed at set regular times. Do any of those sound familiar to you?
Yeah, I've heard all those.
Okay. Again, general consensus of positive things to do. There's also a general consensus of negative things that affect sleep. I must get 8 hours of sleep. I must get sleep, otherwise I will not be able to function tomorrow. My insomnia is going to cause health problems. I cannot fall asleep without a sleeping pill. And it's assumed that I will not fall asleep. And so these are the ideas that many people around us also have.
Okay.
So these are what we're talking about, the constructs of how we put together thoughts, and we're just focusing in on sleep right now. That these are the things, similar to you, that people are thinking. So with you and the things that you discussed about Saturday and Sunday, there were some things that came up about your fogginess, about the Equate and the alcohol. I want to read to you some things that I thought would be similar to some of your negative thoughts regarding sleep. So in cognitive reconstructing, it involves slowly replacing a belief with one that's more accurate, more scientific versus just emotional.
Okay.
And more than just behavior, because behavior is what we've put together for many, many years. And if we don't identify them, then we just continue to repeat that same pattern. So what I see is like an all or nothing attitude, and it is, if I don't get to sleep by a certain amount of time, or if I wake up by 3 o'clock, then I'm gonna get no rest at all. Discounting positive information, I slept heavily for 6 hours, but I didn't get a full 8 hours sleep. So these are negative thought concepts that I've experienced you saying. Judgment focus, I know I won't ever sleep anyway, no matter how hard I try. Everyone else sleeps except me. Regret orientation, if I didn't have so much stress earlier, maybe I'd be more relaxed and sleep. And then unfair comparisons, everyone gets better sleep than me. Do any of those sound more than the other for you?
I think one of them you said was that, you know, I know I'm gonna wake up and I'm not gonna go back to sleep, and so then I'm gonna be foggy or tired.
Okay, so I think that it would be safe to say that that's more on a negative, like an all or nothing negative distortion. Means like you're telling yourself ahead of time it's an all or nothing idea. Someone who might say something positive, whether it's true or not, is I'm just thankful for sleep. You know, I'm just thankful no matter what it is. And that may not be necessarily valid. It may not be helpful, just to throw out some aloof affirmations that I'm just grateful for the sleep that I have, because if you're still stressed and you're still tired, then it's not beneficial.
Right.
So in order to reconstruct some thoughts, it's about changing it so that we are more objective in the information, and it's just, I got 7 hours of sleep, and here's what I'm going to do with the rest of my day, without the negative connotation behind it,
Okay.
or the negative affect behind it. So throughout the rest of our sessions, what we're going to be focusing on is bringing to light more thoughts, specific, and that's what part of this homework is going to be about. Is for 7 days, any days that you pick, the next 14 days, it looks like when I fell asleep, the time, on a scale of 1 to 10, you know, 1 being really bad or nothing, and 10 being good or a lot.
Okay.
And then writing down a few sentences about how it makes you feel, and some of the thoughts that you're feeling right as you wake up. I don't know if you want to do that right at 3 o'clock in the morning, but
Right.
maybe you'll remember how you're feeling a little bit later.
Yeah. Okay.
What does that feel like for you?
No, I can definitely do that. That doesn't take a lot of time, so I can, you know, either in the morning or the evening, one or the other, take a little bit of time to fill that out. But yeah, I could do it every day.
Okay, well, it'll be important that you bring at least this back. This information, again, is just about planting the seed, about where we're going to be going, so that we can start diving deeper into the emotions and the cognitive distortions, and hopefully start making progress into reducing the anxiety and thinking a little bit healthier thoughts regarding sleeping.
Okay.
So it looks like I will see you in about 2 weeks from now. And if you'll just bring that back, we will start tackling everything then. Does that sound good to you?
I can do that.
All right, thank you. Do you have any other questions for me?
I don't.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you then.